king, a tidal wave. Essence perfect, life looks brilliant. Give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You're burying me, burying me. Yeah, you're burying me, burying me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy by the light. It's got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my hand.
And boom, just like that, it's Thursday night. And you know what that means. It's party time with the Video Bros. I'm one half of that team. I'm Bobby Munson. And the man beside me, the man with the angelic voice. Sing it with me, people. Papa Smokes. Papa Smokes, how are you doing, brother?
Woo! I'm doing great tonight, Munson. I'm ready for this podcast. We got a topic. We're both here. We got stuff to talk about. This is going to be great.
You bet. I made it, Papa Smokes. We'll talk about that in just a moment. We say hello to Ed Fries, who's checking in, liking. We'll watch later, but he's about to see Deadpool Wolverine. Have a blast, Ed, my man. I know I'm going to be checking that out on Tuesday, so I'm looking forward to that. But if you do happen to see the movie and you're okay with having it spoiled for you, don't go be a spoiler. But if you want to check out the review of Deadpool and Wolverine this Saturday, the gentlemen from Marvel Talk, Ed Fries and Andre C, are going to be joined by Mark Robson, who's my partner in crime there on Point of View on Sundays now. That is going to be the team that's going to be delivering you Deadpool and Wolverine spoiler-heavy review coming to this Saturday. Check it out. Basser's in the house saying, my boys, Basser, what's up, brother? Hope you're enjoying the brand new job. Pop Smokes, I don't know if I got around to telling you, Bass got a new job.
All right.
Yeah, he's rocking and rolling with the tools once again.
Your guys' previous job is losing all their best talent.
You bet. They lost the two of us. They lost one of the other outside guys that was top there. They're sinking. They're sinking. As Bass said, he's back to the Sparky life once again. Hope you're enjoying it, brother. Hope you're enjoying it. That's the main part. But yeah, speaking of work, I've been on the road for 4 days, Papa Smokes, ever since Monday.
Yeah.
The boss and I have been traveling the province of Saskatchewan, especially down in the southern part of the province, all through the Regina area and surrounding area, upwards towards Yorkton and back again. We were a couple nights in the Yorkton area. Yeah, we've been out visiting different communities and seeing how we can help improve securities and stuff like that there. And, just generally how we can go about, getting in there and doing our thing and showing what we can do to make areas safer. And that's my job. That's what I do. And yeah, 4 days on the road, 3 nights in hotels, lots of walking, lots of talking, and lots of working too, because when you're remote like that, you might as well do some work at night too. So I was doing estimates in the evening, but it was a blast, man. Like sitting there and smoking doobies with the boss and going out for burgers and shit like that because he gets the munchies really bad and stuff. I mean, it had its fun as well as being a workload too.
Sounds all right then. The most you can hope for with a job is to do it and have a little fun at the same time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I enjoy it. I get along with the people I work with. I like the place. It's fun. The boss is great. We go up there. We go on these road trips. We crank the heavy metal tunes while we're going along. We puff some THC vapes once we're done the visiting people work day kind of thing. So we have a blast. It's a good time. It's great. And I mean it's on the company, so we're getting hotels paid for, food paid for, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's daunting though. It's a lot of work, and seeing how some of these communities are and stuff like that. That is the sad part in Saskatchewan. A lot of the the original Canadians, the original pioneers of this country, and seeing the levels of poverty that they are forced to live in and stuff like that too. It really is disheartening at times, and it's tough to see. It really is.
Absolutely. I remember when I used to live in Winnipeg years ago, there was a sort of a security company, but much simpler than the stuff you do. They were just going around towards the Christmas season and replacing people's locks so that they didn't get home invaded, kind of thing. It's having the thought to care about your community and then to actually get out there and do something, whether it's not making you any money or not. Just get out there and do it. Help your community. It's nice. I like to hear about stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's the catch. Like our company, yes, we're involved on the sales side of things and the integration side of things. Of course, there is money involved, but we do give portions of that, like some of the profits, back to the actual community to put back into the community for various events and things like that involving the community. We do donations and stuff like that to help out people in these communities all the time. So there's a lot of stuff that we do to give back that isn't part of the whole making money sort of motive that most companies are used to, which makes it a lot better. And it's the opportunity to go there and not just to speak to them about what we can do. It's not about just going there and sitting down and going, okay, this is what we can give to you or put in for you. We sit down, we listen to their stories a lot of the time. Like, we tell us about you, how are things, how has it been, to teach us about, what your ancestry was here. The teach us about the land and teach us about, this particular area and your group of people as well too. And it's a very unique experience to be able to go and share that and learn that and be able to hear about all the different things from many amazing people out there.
That's nice, and that can benefit your company in the way too, by getting to know your customers or potential customers or community members, getting to know them better and understanding where they've come from and what their needs might be as well, right?
Yeah, you bet. And like, because of the long travel, we don't always get to go see them time after time after time. And some of them at this point aren't even people who have gone ahead with anything. But I know, like, one of the ones I went to visit today on the way back, when I walked in right away, the lady that I'd seen last time and counting, I haven't been able to get out there since November, right away knew who I was, happy to see me, take up a chair, let's have a chat and stuff like that. And it was fantastic. It was great to sit down and have a chat with her and know that she remembered being able to sit down and have conversations with me and stuff like that, to the point where she didn't even have to think about it, knew my name, knew who I was and stuff like that. And yeah, we had a good chat. It was a great experience.
Cool. You're building something, eh?
Oh, I'm building something. You bet. Yeah. I got a lot going on. It's been an interesting change in my actual career and everything like that, but a rewarding one at the same time. There has been a lot of big fish that we have gone after, and I'm not even talking like about the communities. Like, we go after big business. Like, we will help out little businesses and go after that kind of stuff too, but we go for like the big boys. We see companies that have tons of different branches and stuff like that. And we're like, yeah, what the hell? Let's go talk to them. And that's kind of our motive. It's like, let's go see what they got going on. And surprising how some of them aren't being serviced properly or haven't even thought about securing stuff before, to the point where, yeah, I walk in and all of a sudden we have conversations going about what we can do. And it's great.
Yeah, some people want to chit chat and some want to get right down to business. I'm sure you've met both kinds.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, no, and I'm happy to play along with both. You want to get down to business? Perfect. Let's do it. Otherwise, let's chat. Tell me about shit. Tell me about life. And that's what we do here. We chat about life. We chat about wrestling. chat about all sorts of fun things. I do have an announcement, Pop Smoke, so we might as well say it here because I know the announcement will be going online. I know that people have been anxiously waiting the next Prairie Pro Wrestling live event in Saskatoon, but the one that was announced, if you were there live at the previous show, I know I'm looking your way, Basser. It was announced that Saturday, August the 17th was going to be the next Prairie Pro Wrestling live show. I have been informed that it's not the case due to booking and schedules and just things like that that came up. We are postponing until Saturday, September the 14th, so that we can make sure that we deliver a full-blown proper show with all the people that you have come to love in Prairie Pro Wrestling. So we wanted to make sure that we did this all properly and got it all done properly. So the event is still happening. It's just been bumped up a little bit, Papa Smokes.
Yeah, and I file that under the category of wrestling stuff happens sometimes. And I think I like the way you put it is that by postponing the show, we can give them the same level and quality of show that they're used to from PPW.
Yeah, you bet. As Bastar's saying, it's a busy season. He completely understands. Yet, I mean, things are going on. People are busy. You know, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know what? To give the PPW fans that experience, we just needed to push it back a little bit. And I think, hey, why not? September 14th sounds great for our go-home show before the Ring of Horrors 3, which we know the Ring of Horrors 3, the biggest show of the year. We know that one won't be postponed at all, Papa Smoke. October the 26th, you better believe it. The Bass saying, if you complain, you're not a real Prairie Pro Wrestling fan. Fuck yeah, Bass. That's right, brother. 100% on board with that one. But
if we ever start a PR department, we have to have Bass running it.
That's right. That's right. I like that. You know what, Bass? That needs to be a sign right there. They bring that sign to the next PPW show with you. If you complain, you're not a real PPW fan. Love it.
Head of PR department.
Yeah.
Well, we have Taryn from accounting. We can have Bass PR.
Bass the PR. Yeah. I love it. We're making it official right there. Well, officially unofficial, we'll say there, Papa Smokes. I don't know if we quite have the power to make it an official, but you know, we do have a tiny bit of pull. But yeah, there's also something brewing possibly for August, Papa Smokes, that I am not allowed to say. It doesn't directly involve Prairie Pro Wrestling in a live capacity, but it does involve Prairie Pro Wrestling in another way entirely that you'll all find out about later down the road. But there is some cogs in motion for a really cool experience coming up here, Papa Smokes. I know I've mentioned to you a few times about what's been happening. Well, yeah, damn, we've gotten to advanced talks now, and the cogs are in motion for potentially August for what has been going on here. So it's rolling pretty damn quick here, man. I'm pretty excited, and it's I'll talk to you after the show about it. Got some more new information, but you're not to tease people too much. You'll find out more in the not so distant future about what we got brewing there for you. But yeah, moving on from that, Papa Smokes, that is independent wrestling for you. And you know what? We want to talk about independent wrestling. Well, sort of. Not so independent anymore is this man, somebody we've talked about very, very highly over the many years that we've been doing Ring Respect Radio. Well, we watched him dominate as part of MLW. And before we even get there, hello, Astrid, joining us in the chat. Astrid saying, hey, how are you doing? Hopefully you're having a wonderful evening. And yes, I am talking about the very man we have adored and we have said was one of the best independent talents that was out in the market, Papa Smokes. And ever since changing from independent talent to the big stage, has been quite the interesting transition. I think we're going to start on his early stuff, and then let's go to what's been going on today. But oh, look at who it is. Bobby Stats is up in the house. The Von Erichsen tag team with Dustin Rhodes tomorrow on the Ring of Honor pay-per-view.
Cool.
That's awesome. That is awesome. I don't even care if there's not a build for that. That's awesome. Thank you. The Von Erichs. Hell yeah. Love it.
With a Rhodes.
With a Rhodes too. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, Dustin never ages. So, I mean, that's perfectly okay.
He probably knew their uncles and their dad back then.
Oh yeah. Well,
he might have been pretty young, but I bet you he knows, like, I bet you he has a close connection with them somehow.
Oh, for sure. I would imagine somewhere down the line, especially with everything going on. But yeah, Astrid saying LOL, I'm awake this time. Well, that's a positive for sure. Bobby saying I'm happy for the Von Erichs. Hell yeah, I am too. Like, where they been, man? I've missed them. I you know what? I'm not really someone who follows Ring of Honor much, but I will find that match and I will watch that match because I like me some Von Erichs. So hell yeah.
And I'm happy to see Bobby back. Welcome back, Bobby. Haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah, Bobby is back. We've had Bobby a few times on Point of View there on Sundays, and he's here with us tonight. But yeah, welcome back to Thursday nights here, Bobby. And now we'll go back to talking about Mr. Jacob Fatu. Papa Smokes, our earliest memory obviously was MLW and the Contra run with the championship and everything. But there was a lot of work there that we did catch up on as well, too, with PCW Ultra, Defy Wrestling, and stuff like that, too. Just wanted to your thoughts a little bit on some of the early work of Jacob Fatu. What was the hook that brought you in to his work?
Well, I like that question and everything. All right, Bobby. But I wanted to even start further back than that, if I could say something, because we know that he's from the famous bloodline, and we discussed this a little bit back when we talked about family dynasties in wrestling, and we talked to Lance Anoa'i and all that. But Jacob Fatu's father was the Tonga Kid. He was in early WWF in the early 80s, and his dad kind of got a break as the Tonga Kid at a time when Jimmy Snuka had been their top babyface and was drawing all the money and was the big guy before Hulk Hogan came. And then Snuka had to take some time off from wrestling, shall we say. Don't want to get into that whole story, and it's a whole sad, sordid thing, but there was drugs and everything else involved. But Snuka couldn't make a lot of his shows and a lot of his runs, so McMahon wanted to get a replacement for him. So he just wanted someone that was like Jimmy Snuka, but not him. So he tried this guy, C.V. Offie. He was a Polynesian Islander of some kind, and just not at all the same charisma as Jimmy Snuka, but he also went with Tonga Kid, which was a little closer to it. I think when I was a kid and we first started getting WWF wrestling through the Detroit channel that we used to get, it was Roddy Piper had been feuding with Snuka, but Snuka was off now with personal problems or whatever. So they brought the Tonga Kid in, and he continued the feud. Obviously, it didn't have quite the same sauce as it did with Snuka, but that was where Tonga Kid came from. Excuse me. And then later on, that guy, Tonga Kid, became Fatu from the Head Shrinkers. And you know that they had several WWF Tag Team Championship runs managed by, I don't think it was Captain Lou back in those days, but
it was what I
think their manager might have been Curtis Iakea. Do you know who I'm talking about? He was the...
Oh, we lost you for a second there, Pop Smokes.
You guys that watch that old WWF stuff might remember him as the Wizard, and he's a scary, bald guy, and he's got the extremely scarred forehead. Do you know who I'm talking about, Munson?
100%, yeah.
Curtis Iakea, I think is his name. But anyway, so Jacob Fatu, father was Tonga Kid and Fatu from Head Shrinkers, uncle Rikishi. And Rikishi, I think, took a stronger role in the training of Jacob than anybody else in his family. And that's where Jacob got trained. I don't think he even started wrestling until he was 20 years old, or maybe even older than that. He was quoted as saying he was in jail for assault and robbery, and he saw in jail his cousins Jay and Jim Uso, and That's not their real names, but he saw them debut for WWE as the tag team, the Usos, and thought, damn, man, I got to change my ways. I'm going to start wrestling. I'll go to Uncle Rikishi. And I know a few other guys, both family and friends. And that's how he started going. Wasn't from the youngest age. I'm sure he was around shows and soaking in wrestling as a kid, but it wasn't his dream until other things happened in his life and he thought, I should get into this.
Yeah, and it's I just wanted to put this on screen for a moment there. This is who we're talking about in particular, the Tonga Kid. But yeah, no, we should once again say about that sit down that MLW did with Jacob Fatu. If you could still find it, I have no idea if it's been locked into their having to pay for it service yet or anything like that. But if you're still able to find it,
it's on YouTube. Yeah,
it's still there. Okay. So I recommend that people go check it out, the sit down with Jacob Fatu, where he discusses all of this in probably the most perfect way that didn't ever take away from the essence of Jacob Fatu, the character on screen at all. In fact, if nothing else, it makes him look more badass than before because he's a legit tough guy.
It's real.
This guy is truly dangerous, and they're the best, and we'll talk more about it in a bit, but that's the way they're selling him right now on TV. This is a dangerous, violent, stay out of his way sort of individual.
Absolutely. And he looks different and acts different than a lot of the other people in the bloodline. You see the Usos, you see Roman Reigns, you see Solo. They're cool. They're nicely dressed. They're hip. They're totally cool guys and composed and dignified and all that. Jacob takes the other side of it. He's more like the original wild Samoans. He goes more for the savage thing, and he's got the look where it looks awesome. You realize I was so impressed with his first debut on SmackDown. I was reading so many of the comments, and the word that kept coming up was intimidating. Some of the wrestlers in the back at WWE were saying he's very intimidating when you're in the same room with him. Not like just by appearance, not by what he was doing, not by his actions. And all kinds of fans said, look at this guy, he's so intimidating. Isn't that exactly what you want for a main event and top level heel in your company? Like, they couldn't have chosen a better guy.
Oh, no. And again, this goes back to his indie days. This is how he's been presented the whole time. And I'm glad they didn't change it whatsoever. I'm glad they kept his name. I'm glad they're selling him as dangerous or intimidating as the fans are catching on to, because that's what makes Jacob Fatu. That's the essence of Jacob Fatu. He's not the tallest guy. He's not the most fit. Like, he's not although, damn, he's in some pretty goddamn good shape since coming to the WWE. He looks fantastic, but, he's not a Hammerstone body guy or anything like that. He has to be different in order to stand out, and that's what he does. He might only be, 5'11", 6 feet, in that range. He's not the tallest dude, but you wouldn't know it when he gets inside that professional wrestling ring. He always grows to about 7 feet inside that wrestling ring and looks like he is going to hurt you at every step of the way. And the one thing we've said a lot of the time when watching his independent work, and you'll notice it if you pay close attention or a lot about the taking of the bumps and how they're done and stuff, Jacob Fatu makes everything look painful, but Jacob Fatu does it in a way that doesn't get himself or his opponent hurt at all. But he makes it look amazing.
And it's wild to think of that too, that he's a perennially safe worker as far as we've ever heard. But look at how perfect his moves look. And all the time in MLW, that's what really caught my eye about him, was not only his presentation, how badass that is, but his execution in the ring. There's only a couple of fancy moves, but it's all done to precision perfectly every time. And I respect those guys that don't necessarily turn the difficulty up all the way. They do what they can do perfectly every time. That's what makes your name. That's what helps make your reputation in the business. And that's how promoters know that you're a solid worker, that will give them that same good match that they watched on your tape. That's what they want again. That's what a guy like Jacob Fatu does. This is what I do. Good matches.
Yeah, he does. And here's the interesting thing too with the way they're utilizing him right now is they've kind of got this whole what could he potentially do in the bloodline? It doesn't seem like his current group is 100% comfortable with him around. Solo likes him because right now he's serving Solo, doing all Solo's dirty work, hurting people, exactly what Solo wants. But at the same time, there's just this lingering like, what if Solo said the wrong thing? And Jacob decided, nah, and go into full Jacob Fatu mode. I know they're not going to, well, who knows? Maybe with the idea of Netflix around the corner, Jacob Fatu will be able to drop all the F-bombs that he used to drop when he was in the independent scene and stuff like that. But you know what it means? It's like he'll turn on that all of a sudden he just decides he's never quite a heel and he's never quite a baby face. He is the perfect idea of a tweener. He can be your friend if it benefits him, but if it doesn't, he could kick your head off.
Yeah, and that's what the fans embraced about him in MLW too, when he finally made that face turn after the implosion of Contra and started battling against Mads Kruger and all that stuff. He's like the Stone Cold Steve Austin to a certain extent, right? You want your good guy to be able to do bad stuff, but on the right side. That's what it's very attractive to a lot of people. I think that should not be a wrestler's goal. If it happens, it happens, but I think it's more rare than wrestlers trying to make it today. All the heels want to be the cool, popular heel now, and I really think more people should go for the extremes. The a baby face that's the goody two shoes kind of, and then the heel that's evil, that hates the fans, that lashes out at the fans, and that they're afraid of, you know?
Yeah. You know, I got to say, I would think the last time, like, again, they've had very dominant Samoan wrestlers since this time, but the last time we saw one, the likes of a Jacob Fatu would have been Umaga. I would say Umaga was the last one that had that wild Samoan act kind of going for him, and that you can make that comparison to a modern fan based on. I know the Head Shrinkers are great for my era because that's what I grew up on. That was my first introduction to the Samoan heritage at all, is watching the Head Shrinkers. Then going back on old WWF tapes, I got introduced to a lot more, of course, along the way, you know, seen work at the Tonga Kid and everything like that from the early days. But also, by the time of the Head Shrinkers, which was fantastic for me. I loved it. I thought the whole gimmick was great. And at that moment, I was like, Samoans are fantastic.
Yeah, those guys just eating the raw fish in the ocean and everything, like
disgusting, but great.
No, I know, and they couldn't really cut a good promo. It didn't suit their whole thing to cut a promo, but just the in ring was so good. They were such big guys. Their moves looked very violent because they did those superfly dives, those splashes off the top rope. These guys are bigger than Jimmy Snuka. These guys are 275 pounds or whatever, like big dudes. And I've watched Fatu do the same style of moves millions of times, and I just, even with an inside knowledge of the business, I still don't know how they do that sometimes. They don't injure themselves and their opponent.
Yeah, you bet. I just got a quick message here, but we're gonna reply to it in a moment. Just thank you for saying that, Astrid. I want to go back because we also saw PCW Ultra. I want to talk about that for a little bit too. We had Joseph Samael here on, and he had alluded to obviously big things were in the future for Jacob Fatu, one of his best friends, and the friendship they built. Like, this was the best thing about Jacob Fatu, was that he had one of the best mouthpieces in the business. Joseph Samael, promo wise, is so underrated, like one of the absolute best at cutting them. And he also sold Jacob Fatu as dangerous, as big, intimidating. He put him over as an absolute monster. And that was huge for them. But then they had their tag team together as well too, and a very violent one at that. Something crazy, in fact.
Well, yeah, and you brought up that we interviewed Joseph Samael. He told us all about his influences and his teachings. He's obviously very much into the Sheik, which we did a book review on, the original Sheik from Detroit. And he, of course, Samael using the pencil, throwing the fire, wearing the kind of Sheik's headgear and all that stuff. But then Samael was also very good friends with, and his mentor was Kevin Sullivan, a fine wrestling mind. I mean, a guy that, you look at some of those old pictures of him, they're from the 60s and 70s, and he's still a wrestler back then. Like, the guy was amazing, and he's worked everywhere, and he knows everything about the business. The fact that Samael got to absorb some of that knowledge, or should I say, sit under the learning tree of Kevin Sullivan, just absolutely wild. And I imagine a ton of that psychology that he would have learned from Kevin Sullivan about getting people over, getting the evil heel over, getting the bad guy over, putting the fear and the uncertainty and the macabre into your promos and everything. You can see that knowledge has seeped down. That's extremely important, I think, in the development of Samael, and I have no doubt that he was spreading that awesome knowledge from Kevin Sullivan and the Sheik to Jacob Fatu. It's an old school mentality. It works very, very well still.
Yeah, you bet. And I'm glad to see what it did for Jacob Fatu, saw that rise. Just before he came to WWE, he was kind of on the cusp there. And one thing that he did a little bit of reality of wrestling. I'm not sure if you came across any of the reality of wrestling matches of Jacob Fatu's that are available on YouTube. This is the company that is owned and operated by Booker T. And so in some ways, It could be a feeder system. I know it's not directly a feeder system, but you have a guy working directly for WWE that owns reality of wrestling. And I know that there was a lot of conversation saying that Booker T had noticed how good Jacob Fatu was when he got him over to reality of wrestling and was already making those recommendations to WWE, get this guy signed.
That's pretty cool to hear. And I imagine they would take Booker T's recommendations pretty seriously. That guy has also spent his entire life in wrestling, has owned and run that wrestling school in Houston, Texas, I do believe. Yep. And I mean, that's a guy that's completely involved in the business and willing to help young guys and girls, the boys, so to speak, come up in the business and maybe get a shot. If they got trained at Booker T's school, I'm thinking that's probably one of the better, more accredited places to learn. So if you can get the rub from the boss there, Booker T, formerly known as G.I. Bro, by the way, I just find that so funny. But very cool, very cool. When did you hear that Fatu did shows for Booker over the past year, kind of thing?
Yeah, it was right after MLW. So in that transition period. So it was like from MLW to reality of wrestling. And I know that I even watched a couple along the week here there on YouTube. So I'd recommend go checking that out. But yeah, he had done some matches over there. And then I had heard, through IWC, chatter and stuff like that online, that there was reports that Booker T had made recommendations to the WWE to sign Jacob Fatu. I mean, for all we know, he said that, and they had already been in conversation with Jacob Fatu at that point in time, too. We don't know the timeline of exactly when Fatu signed, but we do know that somewhere within that time frame, from that transition from MLW to reality wrestling, somewhere in that frame, WWE was already on the phone to Jacob Fatu, figuring out what they could do.
And you have to kind of think that they had his number before then too. Like, I can't believe that there aren't guys in WWE that sit down and say, okay, who are the top indie talents in this area and this area and this area, and who's what famous trainer, famous old wrestlers, what what wrestlers does he have coming out that are getting trained, like where you might just be able to cherry pick some good wrestlers, some budding talent out of all that. I gotta think that he was on their radar before then too.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure he's been on that radar for a while, and that one of the biggest things that holding him back in the past was that criminal record, which he was in Canada, man. So I guess they got it figured out that they, if you're going to sign anywhere and work with, probably the top entertainment lawyers in the industry today, or at least some of the top in the industry, Fatu probably made the right damn choice in terms of being able to progress his career.
Oh, no doubts. And I mean, my personal feelings aside, I'm not the hugest WWE fan. I have been watching a little bit lately just because it seems like things are changing and I kind of want to watch some of it for myself. But part of it's Fatu also. And you got to be thinking that, like, what an awesome accomplishment it was after all this time. It's kind of like getting into the NFL finally, or the Major League Baseball. You slugged it out in the minors for a few years and had a good average and had a good career down there and made your name just a little bit, got it on some people's tongues to say your name as one of the top talents coming out. That's word's going to get around. Munson, as well as I do, even way up here, our small involvement in the business, you get to know other people in the business. I mean, it's almost inevitable, and you're close to knowing people that know big people. You know what I mean? And it's wild to think of it that way, but there had to be a lot of people talking about him. He had to be one of the top draft picks from the pool of indie wrestlers. Just like now, really one of the top ones has to be Richard Holiday. Like, that's the next guy I could see getting signed to something big, either a TNA or an AEW or WWE. I think he's fully capable of doing the job in any of those places, and that's the next one I'm looking forward to find a home in a big company.
Yeah, I hope he does, and I hope he does soon. I got a couple ones to throw at you here. Jacob Fatu, if he was still an independent talent and could work a match in PPW, just one, what is that match, Papa Smokes? What is the tear the roof off of the Cosmo Hall in Saskatoon level matchup for Jacob Fatu on the PPW roster?
It's a really good question. I might have to say that it's Fatu as a babyface against El Assassino. But if he's a heel, Michael Allen, Richard Clark.
Nice. Both good options. Both good options. I can't argue with you. I can't argue. Those has got to be two of the best that we've got right there in terms of putting them in with Jacob Fatu and getting that level of pop that you're going to want to get out of a match like that. So 100%. Yeah.
There's other guys we have that can handle it as well, I think, because it's kind of tough wrestling a name, but I think those two would be logical choices because it's obviously going to be a main event as well.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you wouldn't have somebody like that available and not have it as your main event. Countering to that one, seeing as he is over in WWE, I know you don't watch it a lot, Papa Smokes, but if there was any name over in WWE's current scope of things, including anybody on retirement runs or, pushing the boundary or anything like that, that one Jacob Fatu match that would pique your interest to tune into WWE for?
I'd like to see him against another tough guy let's just say. How about Walter or Gunther or Sheamus?
Okay, those would be good. I was even thinking Ilya Dragunov will be interesting one down the line here.
He can sell, eh?
Yeah. I mean, in the immediate future, there's going to be matches with him and like a Randy Orton, I imagine, at some point in time too. God, I would be curious to know if he gets part of the Cena farewell tour and stuff like that. Can you imagine John Cena putting over Jacob Fatu in a one-on-one competition?
He feuded against his uncle Umaga. Maybe that would mean something to Cena.
Yeah, I think so too. Perfect. Just give me one here second. Just got to send a quick code. As I'm doing that, I will say that this code is going over to our good friend Auntie Collins, who is going to be part of the team with Kyle Sparks and, of course, Kimmy Sokol joining for the Honor Ramble coming up shortly after us here tonight. So stay tuned for that. They're going to be talking about the Go Home show before Death Before Dishonor, which is tomorrow night. There is going to be a Death Before Dishonor post show tomorrow evening that Auntie Collins is going to be hosting here on the channel. So make sure you're tuned in for that as well. And again, I don't think that the Von Erichs are only on Death Before Dishonor. I believe they have a match scheduled on regular ROH TV tonight. So very curious to hear about how that went down for sure, Pop Smokes.
Awesome. Always wish those guys the best. I still wish we had gotten our interview. Hey, Munson, you did everything necessary for it. Jumped through all the hoops, everything else. They were nice about it. They agreed to it in principle. It never happened. That's just wrestling stuff right there.
Yeah, there's been a couple of ones like that didn't manifest, that, you know, we were on the cusp of and stuff like that. It happens. I get it. I'm not.
Yep.
You can't get upset. You move on. Yep.
They're all busy. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. So, but you know, there might be, you know, we might get back to doing some interviews here eventually and get some interesting people on the. I've thought of a couple. You know, we're gonna have to get back into getting some PPW people here on the show, Pop Smokes, like
for sure.
Getting some different interviews. I know I worked it out that the scheduling for the rest of the year should work out for the rest of the year, but we will run out officially of matches early January. So I'm thinking that we might even just have a holiday break where we just play a best of PPW matches.
Absolutely.
For a few weeks, just to delay it a little bit so we can hang in there till the next show for everybody. From there, hey, we're going to be playing it by ear, figuring out what we can do for interviews and stuff like that to keep bringing that content. Because guess what, Pop Smoke? PPW's less than 100 subscribers away from hitting 1,000 on YouTube. And right here on OLE, we're at, I think, 554 right now. So again, growing on OLE, they get everybody who has subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to either of those channels, do so. And also on the Video Bros Network, where we are also rising on the subscriptions there too. So all three of those channels, make sure to check them out, give them a thumbs up, subscribe, and all those wonderful things. But yeah, Papa Smokes, going back to you, anything else we should talk about with Jacob Fatu?
Well, one quick thing just while we're on this topic, I wanted to send a thanks to anybody out there that's listening for the awesome response to Trip Through the Territories. We're really pleased by this. Lots of views. I'm really glad that you guys like this series, like the history, like going back to the old days of the Wild West of wrestling. That last one about Kansas City territory was very fun and very enlightening for me, too. I didn't know much about it. That's what's fun about doing these things. We learn, and hopefully you guys learn, too, and can appreciate some different wrestling than what you normally watch.
Yeah, and there's some keen interest in it because the views have done good on this one. I thought, it's a lesser-known territory. Maybe there won't be that much interest, but apparently we hit a few niche people looking for that kind of content, and lucky for us, we were able to provide, and that's the whole benefit of Trip Through the Territories. It's a phenomenal program. I'm glad you put it together, Papa Smokes. I've been happy to learn about all this kind of stuff, and the best part is then I researched for it, and all these recommendations for great wrestling matches come up that I can watch and I can check out from all these different wrestlers. And it gets me thinking, whether I'm listening to the commentary or watching the wrestling, I'm like, some of these things are things that haven't been used in years. And there's ways that you can bring some of this to a modern setting and just utilize some of the psychology that these guys used at the same time. And it would get over today. I know it would get over today, a lot of it too. And some of the commentary is just absolutely dynamite. Love it.
No, for sure. That guy for Kansas City, Kerwin or whatever his last name was, or Kirsten, Bill Kirsten. That's what that guy's name was. What an awesome commentator. I really thoroughly enjoyed all that. And then after that, I was really listening to the commentary because it was like, damn, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah, he's good. He's really good. So I recommend anybody go check him out. And and Also, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't checked out Jacob Fatu by now, go check out Jacob Fatu, because even the people who don't watch the independent scene, I think at this point, no, he's been trending online just about every time SmackDown plays at this point in time. Like, there was the rumor saying that they were worried that he was going to surpass Solo Sikoa. I don't think you got to worry about that. I think he will pass Solo Sikoa. What you need to worry yourself with is how you're going to embrace for having one of the top stars in professional wrestling.
For sure. And I still wish I could remember which podcast it was. It had to have been a year ago. I think it was last summer or last fall. I said, how does Solo Sikoa have this job when there's a Jacob Fatu in wrestling? And then, by God, that came through 6 weeks ago or whatever. The media was all saying, like, WWE scrambling now because Solo Sikoa not looking as good next to Jacob Fatu. It's like, damn, man, no shit. You guys haven't checked him out thoroughly yet. Another thing I want to say about Fatu is that the WWE audience is just like us. When we started watching MLW, he's crazy. He's a savage. He's really good in the ring. He's really violent. But then all of a sudden you realize he can talk. And he's really convincing and really real in his promos. Just wait till they bust that out. All these fans are going to be like, what the? This guy can talk?
Well, I don't know if you've seen it, but when I think it was after his debut or whatever, when Solo brought him out separately to his own theme music and everything like that. He had his own graphics.
Which is so cool, by the way.
Oh, fantastic. They did a great job with it. And
Samoan Werewolf, it just says as he's coming out. Just, oh, yeah.
Perfect. You know, and then in there, Solo's getting Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa to salute him. Like, you salute me as your tribal chief or whatever. Yeah, we salute you. Like, no problem. They just fold like paper immediately. And then he looks at Jacob Fatu, my enforcer, do you salute me as your tribal chief? And he's got that sinister look in his face, like Fatu could turn around and say anything right now. You're not sure. This guy's nuts. And then he turns around and gets on the microphone. And it's like, I love you, my brother, and I salute you as my tribal chief. And he just brings him in for that fucking hug. And it was like, man, that's the slight glimpse of his ability to talk that they've been given so far. But let him go. Let him go, and this guy will unfold like they have not seen before.
Yeah, he probably won't talk much on this current run as he's bad guy in the bloodline and all that. But once whatever happens is going to happen, if he's on the good guy's side of it, he's going to start cutting some of those promos and Cody Rhodes, I'm going to dog walk your ass all over the all that stuff. Sounds so cool and so convincing. And it's just like the old saying, Johnny Valentine, I can't convince you that pro wrestling is real, but I can convince you I'm real.
Yep. Yeah. And that's Fatu's motive right there. Like, he's going to convince people, and I think he's going to be a star. And I'm on board with the idea that this guy will eventually be one of their champions. Considering some of the people they've put those belts on, I don't see any reason that Jacob Fatu won't hold one of the many 6,000 WWE major championships.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. To do that, he's really going to have to rise above the rest of those guys, though, right? Like the rest of not only the guys that are hovering around the main event, like the Drew McIntyres and the CM Punks and whoever else is kicking around at that time, but the Usos and the Solo Sikoas and the Roman and the Rock and whoever else might get their hands on that belt, and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, and now there's even more guys coming from what I hear, and it's a big dog pack, so he's really gonna have to rise above the rest of those guys. I think it's completely doable because he has that presentation. He looks better than all those guys put together, and he's worked on his wrestling to the point where, like I say, he does some moves. All of his moves really are done perfectly every time. He's got consistency. That's what they want. They want their product to look perfect all the time, right?
Yeah, 100%. I'd love if they brought Lance in. I think it would be great if they brought.
Oh yeah.
If they need another one to join Roman's side for War Games, and like a lot of people are saying, Jacob Fatu, Zila is going to be great. He's not there yet. He's not main roster. I don't think that. I think that's too soon for Zila. I really do, and that's not discrediting what he's done. He's new. He's green. He's very green right now. Still,
Yeah.
he's got work to do.
Yeah, you don't throw him in the biggest company in the main event spot if he's green.
Yeah, because I think he just completed 1 year of in ring or so. Like it's not very long. Like he's new, and people are. I know they're excited, and you should be because he's good. He's very good for how young in the business he is and stuff like that. Will he be able to get there? I believe so. I strongly believe so. Do I think that they should do it in time for November? No. I think if anything, if you're going to bring in somebody from outside, I think Lance has that more experience. I think him sitting in on the side with Roman and say the Usos going into this War Games against the current new bloodline that we're seeing, I think that's a nice setup. Again, Lance is a perfect guy that if you want the new bloodline to take the victory, Lance is the perfect guy to take the fall in a War Games matchup. And I that's not discrediting Lance. Love the shit out of that guy and everything. But with him coming in as the new guy and stuff like that, he can easily take it without ruining the reputation of anybody else who's already been established so far.
Yeah, and I don't think Lance would mind doing that job, would he? No, who would? Everybody would love the chance to do that.
It's not another thing Lance call. Like that's the best part.
Absolutely. And another possibility is that maybe just for a little while for fun, they might reform the Samoan SWAT team too. That is also Fatu's father, the Tonga Kid, was in original Samoan SWAT team with Paul Heyman as their manager.
Yeah.
Paul dangerously as he was back then.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah, I guess in reality, that makes sense that Paul Heyman has that much more fear of Jacob Fatu, that lineage that follows him back so far that he knows all about Jacob Fatu's the whole role Heyman's playing in this thing leading into this whole like I don't trust this, and that's why you got the shit kicked out of him by these four dudes and stuff like that. Like it is one of the more interesting modern day professional wrestling stories. Like just when you think they've milked the bloodline for all it's worth, I'm invested again. I like this. It's interesting. I like the idea that they could have a Bloodlines War Games. Whoever thought that you could have two Samoan factions siding in a War Games match one day down the line?
No, it's the perfect big faction fight that they have going on that's been helped me here months and 2 years, 3 years, maybe even in the making. Like since Roman's been champion and all that, since he was in a pack of guys when he was in the Shield, Rollins, other guys that were, sniffing around being world champion and all that, a whole bunch of guys. And Roman came out as the top guy. Then, of course, as a heel, starts building his faction for protection, right? For control, to keep the stranglehold on that title for as long as possible through interference. And his faction is his family. Well, it helps a lot when you have a family that's completely immersed in the wrestling business, and all the boys and almost all the girls in this huge extended family are all wrestlers or involved in the wrestling business and supporting you all throughout this. What a perfect situation. And even think of War Games match with, Solo's boys versus Roman's boys. Think of they're all buddies, man. Like think of the work they can do together, right? Like those guys have probably wrestled each other a million times since they've been 13 years old or whatever, right? Like we might see some really excellent stuff with these guys.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the best thing they could do. That is big business, and they've been doing a lot of big business lately, and why not? If you can do it, and they're doing it. So kudos to them. For once, we're going to be positive about WWE. Kudos to some of the things that they have done recently. Because hey, hats off where my hat's off. That's all I could say. But with that being said, Papa Smokes, it got a little bit more expensive in here. It's your ticker, man. Where can the people find you?
All right, check out this ticker, man. We don't spend all this money for nothing, but I'll enunciate it for you anyway. I can be found on Elon Musk's free speech wonderland, known as X. I am at smokes_papa. And on Twitch, I am at papa_smokes_.
Awesome. That's where you can find Papa Smokes. For myself, Bobby Munson on the X. I'm at Real Bobby Munson, Instagram and Threads at Video Bros SK, and on Twitch at Video Bro_Bobby Munson. Where can you find me next? Well, I'm going to be back this weekend on Point of View with Mark Robson. We'll probably talk some soccer, aka football. We'll probably talk some wrestling, maybe a few other things. It's become a real sports type program. So join us for that. You can also bring up anything that you want to talk about on the show as well too. Again, myself, Bob Smokes, every Saturday afternoon with you on Prairie Pro Wrestling. Check it out for all the content over there. That's where you're going to be able to find us. But yes, if you're watching on OLE Podcast, right down below there, you can find us on all the social media. We also stream on Twitch and on YouTube. We've got daily stuff coming at you on YouTube, whether it be short form content, long form content, or live videos, just like the one you're seeing right here. We've got something for everybody in the world of pop culture coming from great contributors all around the globe. So make sure that you support everybody else who works here at our local establishment to make you awesome content. But that's going to be it for us this week. We're looking forward to next Thursday with you. But until then, from myself, from Pop Smokes, take care, everybody.